If you want to watch my tour, go on YouTube.
This will be on YouTube.
Can I stay here?
I'm popular now. Yes, you can. So, this all happened in 1565, where about 30,000 Ottomans, the Ottoman Empire at that time, came to invade Malta. Population was just about 20,000. Today we are 600,000 in Malta alone. In Australia, there are the same population of Maltese living there. Just Australia, then the US, United Kingdom, Canada. Imagine if you all come here, go too crowded. So in those days there were 20,000. The Ottomans 30,000. The Order of St. John were about 600. Still they managed to kill half of them. 15,000 were killed. So after 4 months that they were here, the Ottomans, the morale went down. They thought they would all get killed. They ran out of ammunition, out of food, so they escaped. We still celebrate the victory up to this present day, ever since it happened, on the 8th of September each year. So most European countries at that time, and especially the Pope Pius V, to which the Order of St. John was part of, were very happy that Malta was the only country that stood up against the Ottomans and did not let them invade. Because if they invaded Malta, then they would have taken Sicily, Italy, and then the rest of Europe. Don't forget that they were the Ottoman Empire. They were very strong, powerful. So the Maltese were very lucky that they weren't powerful when they were here, because many mistakes were done. But anyway, so they wanted to give a present to the Maltese and to the knights by giving them lots of money to build a new city, which was Valletta. So many architects started coming here, including the best one was sent by the Pope, Francesco Lapparelli. He was a military engineer, and as soon as he came, he started planning the city. If you see a map of Valletta, there's one outside, you will realize that the roads are straight. It's like a grid, all of Valletta, but underneath these streets of Valletta, he wanted to dig out passages under every street there is, for 4 reasons. Means of escape. If the Ottomans came back again, they never did. They would escape through these passages. For this huge system, for the big Valletta, it was the envy of most European countries. It was very modern at the time. To store the grain in front of Fort St. Elmo down the road, there are the granaries where they used to store the grain, and most important, to store the rain waters. So there are about 1,000 cisterns and reservoirs and wells underneath all of Valletta. In fact, there was a law which said whoever builds a property above, by law they should have a well or a cistern. So rainwater used to be stored here, but it was never used by the locals. It was only used to clean the streets of Valletta and for the many fountains which were erected all over Valletta at the time. Whoever has a cistern nowadays, which were dug out in the past, nowadays they don't anymore, they don't use the water for drinking. If the water is in the cistern, it's not good water, so they use it on something else. So after a while, there was a French grandmaster, like many, there were many French knights and French grandmasters, and from his money he paid for aqueducts, coming all the way from Rabat near Mdina to Valletta, bringing fresh water. That's what the locals here used for drinking. So then of course Valletta was built and whatever. 1798 came the invasion of Napoleon. The French invaded Malta. There were many street battles with the French. The Maltese and the knights fought together, but then they had to leave. The knights had to leave because most of them, as I said, were French. They didn't want to fight the French anymore, so they left. And left the Maltese fighting on their own. The Maltese did fight, wherever they met, street battles. After a while, they managed to close the French here in Valletta for almost 2 years. At that time, during that time, there was Lord Nelson in the Mediterranean. The Maltese asked the British for help. There were battles with the French, British and the French. The British one And the British era here started from 1800 till 1964 when we got the independence. So things happened, of course, during that time, including the how this was dug out during the nights. When the Ottomans came to invade, they had to leave after 4 months, and Malta was saved along with Europe, because they really Malta would have taken Europe. And then they started building Valletta after the siege and dug all these underground. So then this is used after the during the Second World War, and I'm explaining how they dug them in 3 months' time, all these shelters all over Valletta for 30,000 people, and shelters were dug all over Malta.
Sorry, how many people?
For 30,000 people. The population of Valletta was 20, but still they dug shelters all over Valletta.
Sorry.
And when we are looking at
No, sorry, so how many people stayed here? 4,000?
no, the population I said of Valletta was around 20,000.
Yeah.
Some of them did come here, of course, others did not.
Okay.
There was place for 30,000 people here.
There was a big
Yes.
30,000.
So we go down, the first level, always hold on to the railing. Now, as I was talking to this lady, she's claustrophobic, I am a lot, but it took me a whole month. When we opened, I used to dream every night, bad dreams.
Yeah.
I've been to a lot, bad experiences, but now I realize it's not. Because maybe I got used to it. It's, I know there's the exit, which is open, and I won't be alone. So,
I'll let you know if I have a problem.
yes, hopefully you won't.
Exactly.
And knowing that it's a short route, we're not going all over underneath Valletta,
Okay.
because after the war, all the properties above took their share of the basement. By right, it was theirs, as it was under the property, so they put up walls closed with gates, and they make use of these basements there. In fact, if you walk along in Valletta, next to every building, you'll see like a grid on the floor. That means they have the basement. All the buildings have it. So we have a short route underneath Merchant Street.
Did you find the intro? I missed it. It was there?
Yes, it's written, it's a word.
Hitler.
Oh, it's a word, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
Just
I-
Hitler. That's his face there. I told you it's mine, with hair.
Yeah, with that I
yes, I see
I
it.
did not miss that story.
And there should be another one, Hitler here, but I can't find it. Anyway.
I didn't miss the story with your hair.
The only thing about it is that it's dark, but you have the lights.
I'm okay.
Because it's spacious.
With the
it's-
dark. The darkness is not the problem. I sleep in the dark, so that's not an issue.
Exactly.
Right. They don't have an easement to all the property.
We are not that many. I like it better when we are this many, because you can understand me more, and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can understand me more and you keep together more, so it will be shorter. So this is another cistern, a bit larger than the one we have seen above. So these were all cemented, sealed, so that no water would come through while the people were sheltering here during the war. Beneath these walls, there used to be the pump for the fountain above, and there were many to take the water up to the fountain. Wherever there was a fountain, there was a pump to take the water up. In most cisterns, that is. So people used to come here to shelter. Some people, I think it was a community in Valletta, still today. They all know each other. They like to enjoy themselves, we say, the Maltese, and keep together. And you cannot tell them something against the city, because they will kill you, for sure. They are so fanatics. And they keep together. It's like a community. And in those days, during the war, I think there were more. So they used to stay together most of the time. But there were people who used to go all over the place. It was all open underneath all of Valletta, but some people preferred to rent a shelter because the shelters were rented by the government just for a little sum of money, not much, just to say that they are rented. And they used to come, it would be theirs, leave, come back again. And some other people used to stay here or wherever, and the passages everywhere. I don't know if you have been to the Hypogeum. So the Hypogeum was discovered, which is, how do you say it? It's protected by UNESCO. It's a World Heritage Site. It's unique in the world. There's nothing like it. Thousands and thousands of years old, Neolithic period. It was discovered in 1902. They were building above. They never stopped building then, until this day, everywhere on this tiny rock. Anyway, they were building then, and they came across a cistern like this. When they went down in the cistern, they saw all these magnificent temples underground and burial sites of the Neolithic period. They stopped building there at that time, but they continued to build in the surrounding area. And I'm sure there are lots more of hypogeums there, because it was a very good area there for those people being on a hill. Nowadays, you won't realize because it's all built up. But anyway, in those days, they continued to build, and I'm sure that there are many. But if there are many, they are there for future generations. And I believe that it's best to be left that way, because no one touches them. They are still there, like many more other historical areas. Malta is full. First of all, Malta is the most country in the world which have all this history for its size. Wherever they dig in Malta, they find something. Either Punic, either Roman, either Neolithic. Rabat is all Roman. In front of Mdina, there's a parking lot, and they know it's all Roman underneath, but they don't dig out because they are not interested, you can say. It's too much for Malta. There are houses which have Roman underneath their house. In fact, there's not a joke really, it's not a joke. If I want to buy a property there, I have to be very careful, because if I have something underneath, I have to inform the authorities, and that wouldn't be nice, because you would be in trouble. In fact, I had the opportunity once to go and visit a house there a long time ago in Rabat, and someone told me that there might be something. Immediately I telephoned and told them it's cancelled. Problems in my life. But many people have it and they don't talk. So, but anyway, sometimes they're doing a parole, they come across a Punic tomb, which is a small tomb. They close it again because it's not worth leaving it open. So again, people used to come here and draw on the wall, this plain skeleton here. Paolo written here. This, I used to say it was a wardrobe, but someone told me it's a radio, old-fashioned radio during the war. A plane, a shell, flower, and those were the cables which run along every corner of this place. So they had electricity here as well. But these were always off most of the time, because of the continuous bombing, day and night, week after week, year after year. It never stopped. They wanted Malta so much, being in the center of the Mediterranean, like always, since the beginning of Malta. It was conquered by so many nations. And during the war, of course, they wanted Malta because it's in the middle between Africa and Europe.
Very strategically placed.
Strategically placed, exactly. But they never got it. Malta was never taken by the enemy. No enemy set foot on the island. And
We don't really need to know that. It's 3 months to go. We don't need Maltese talking. We're involved in it.
sorry? No. Well, most of the people are dead. I mean, to build. Most of the population, but they were even children, they used to live out here, so it's not very much time. No wonder they obvious. But first of all, Malta was the most country in the world, which was heavily bombed. 16,000 and tons of bombs fell on the island, especially here in Valletta, 3 cities opposite, because of the harbor, dockyards, and the fleet. So here it was always bombed. That's why.
Let's sing. I would like to sing.
Just keep in mind that you are with people here. You're not alone.
I'm not afraid of being.
You're not alone.
I could have taken my shower here today.
You will if you want.
Be careful, might be slippery.
Yes, be careful.
I'm holding on to the line.
Now the ceiling is low. Be careful. Mind your head for a while.
Be careful, lots of water here.
Big step.
That's why we wear the closed shoes.
Well, we can wash our feet with the open shoes.
Sometimes it's muddy. It's not so easy.
I didn't know.
Stairs.
So you can see that the ceiling here, first of all, what they did before the war, the passages were this narrow. I will show you later how narrow they were during the nights, and they widened them before the Second World War and everything. So everything by hand, during the nights and before the Second World War, everything was dug by hand. So you can see that the ceiling is wet. Sometimes even in the shelters it used to be wet. Still is in most shelters. The water keeps dripping summer and winter, winter with the rain, and summer, I don't know from where it comes, humidity, always here, all year round, and it keeps dripping. So I don't think they were too much comfortable inside these shelters. Sometimes if the water dripped, they used to sweep the water out in this canal here, and it goes away. Otherwise they would put up wood not to stand on water. But most shelters are dry. So I don't know, maybe they used to change shelters wherever, but you can see here, this rusty gate has been here after the war, since after the war. This used to be a wall, it fell by time probably, a flight of stairs leading up to a property. 1942 written on the wall there.
Where? Oh, yeah.
So another reason why all the properties closed after the war, because it was theirs, so they could have closed. But some people still used to live here after the war. Houses were bombed, people had nowhere to go. If they had relatives living somewhere else, probably they would go to their relatives, but if they did not, they stayed here. They continued to live in these shelters. So that was the time again when they closed the properties. Here they thought the war is one thing, now it's over. We don't want any more people underneath our property. So they closed the gate. There's ample of space where people could still stay. Until they built up the city again, it took I think a few years. So it wasn't nice for these people, poor people, for them to keep on living here. The shelters, what you see, they are all the same. They couldn't be larger than they are, otherwise the ceiling would have collapsed. So they were very careful when they dug them out. You can see that most spaces are closed. That means that there are properties. Properties above, that is.
Would you like to have those under
Now, Malta is the most populated country in Europe for its size. And in those days, before the war and after, families were 14 children, 10 children, most families were. There were no TVs, so no habits, so they used to produce children, one after the other every year. No air, no windows, no light, nothing. To make it worse, they used to close with the door here. All shelters, most shelters had doors. So they used to leave, at least they close, come back, they open. I think that while they were inside, they used to leave the door open because you wouldn't be able to breathe inside. Now here, although I do suffer a bit, not much, in breathing, that is, there was air. All the entrances and exits were all open, so there was air in certain areas. But if you close yourself inside, those people, especially if they had all their belongings, if they had no house, imagine how cramped it used to be. Sometimes they used to cook if they had the food because there was famine. Imagine the smell of food, of people here, everything, sick people everywhere. There were even clinics with doctors here. There were even places for women. They used to give birth as well. I think they did it here, delivered it here also. And so it was not nice at all.
What is that?
These holes in the wall you are seeing were for the candles. Because when there wasn't light, they used to put up candles everywhere.
What, sorry? The candles?
Candles.
Done, okay.
So these people must have been very religious here. Two small niches and the cross.
What did they have? Religion cross?
Yeah.
There.
And a large niche here. Maybe there was Holy Mary or Jesus with a candle underneath. Maybe there was something, they removed it. After the door, it was still open here. So we can see here Merchant Street written on the wall. All the streets were written so that no one would get lost. So I told you we are underneath Merchant Street. Merchant Street is one straight road that leads to Fort St. Elmo, but there it's closed, obviously. And you can see shelters everywhere. There's a sink over there which tells us that they had fresh water at least, and I believe it's not the only one. There would be more in other places. At least they had fresh water, but no toilets and no showers. Showers probably they stayed underneath the water, dripping. Now here we start on the street, St. Lucy's Street. So St. Lucy's Street is at the side of the cathedral. There are a few shops selling jewellery, gold, famous with the Maltese woman. So all you men, you, and you. If we dig a hole here, it will only take us a few hours. Since it took them 3 months to dig everywhere, yeah? We'll find ourselves in one of the shops. We'll split everything, don't worry. So this is very important now. When the knights dug these passages, not the knights, the people dug them. It was dug during the nights. Look how narrow they used to be. This is claustrophobic. I would never pass through a passage this narrow. All of them were narrow as like this. We'll see that while we are going away now, the other side, they were all like this. So imagine if the Ottomans came back to invade, they would have to escape through these tunnels, passages, on top of drainage pipes, wearing that armor. They were thin, fit, what is. So look at the tiles, beautiful tiles, like a carpet. Aren't they nice? These were very common in all the houses. As I said, there are many houses still in villages and towns that still have these type of tiles. Beautiful. These are. They are so nice.
Get inspired from
I know I was born in these type of tiles, so it's something new, but
nice.
Look at this, how beautiful. Probably a shaft or whatever. Holy Mary here.
Ah,
Whoever did that must have been a very good artist, huh?
yeah. Well, to stay here to do something, when you're
Exactly.
here, you
They
have to
needed
spend the time
and do something.
to keep people busy. We were here for a couple of years.
Of course. Walk on your left now, because water is dripping here, and it's very, very cold with rocks. I know because I don't have a hat.
Yeah, passenger.
Ay.
Watch your hands.
How many little rooms are there?
Oh, I cannot say. There are plans, they have plans.
Who knows, maybe there's a house there. Are we sure there's no house?
This is underneath the road, so there's nothing.
This is what you were saying, Sheila?
St. Lucy Street, yes. Oh,
The root system.
Wow. The wine.
the wine.
Some root system is way in
The
there.
wine.
So here we have a few bottles of wine. I'm sure they used to drink wine here,
Yeah.
get drunk,
I was.
and produce more babies to increase the population. What else could you do inside?
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing.
I tell you something, they used to have 14, 10 children those days. Of course, not all survived most of the time, but they lived. Imagine nowadays having 10 children. Would they survive? No. So that's another reason why no one wants children. Look at my beautiful tiles. I could live inside here with someone else.
These are really, really pretty.
I love them.
Very delicate. Must have been painted by a woman.
They were like they found those.
This one here came off.
Sorry?
Came off now.
Yes, I don't know when this happened. Probably while they were digging it up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Another area which is closed. This one used to be a wall, probably it fell down by time. That looks very scary. I don't like it. Probably it used to be a wall to close, but it looks scary there.
Some of them look bigger than others.
Well, just a little, not much. Mostly they are all the same. So you can see there.
That's like a plate.
Yes, now this used to be a Maltese tradition. Every house used to have something religious like this at the facade, next to the entrance, the door. You can still see them in most houses and villages more. Nowadays they don't do it, no one does that. Nowadays they just invent a name, they give a name to the house like Sunshine, like Joseph Mary, Jomar House. Written there, it goes along with the address. Every house has to have a number or a name. They give it a name. So these people, probably they didn't have a house anymore. This was their home, and they put that up to protect the family and the shelters, along with 2 ceramic vases for the flowers. Who knows? Can you see, even here, the passages, you can see the ceiling. Everywhere is all like that. So this is MOT's traditional spiral staircase, stone spiral staircase. I remember them very well. Most villages, houses in villages, they still have them. Usually it's wider than this. This is a bit too dangerous, going up and down. I wouldn't go. Usually it's a bit wider. You find these in houses, old houses, from the first floor leading up to the roof. In Malta, those who are lucky still have a house. They use the roof to put the clothes on the line, to have barbecues and so on. So nowadays they don't do that anymore. First of all, it would be rather expensive. And nowadays there are these metal ones which you order, they come measure and put it in place. Now this is a small reservoir, really small, all done by hand in hands. But still, imagine how many millions of gallons of water is to be stored. So, all of Malta now, we must specify that there are more than 1,000 reservoirs scattered around the island. Some of them are like this, some of them are huge. So I had the opportunity of going to visit one, which was open just for one day in a village called Valletta. And they did all that, it was empty from the water. And they wanted to invite people to see this reservoir. There was a launching of a boat. Now these roots, which you are seeing, are from the trees above, which are ficus trees. Ficus have lots of trees, roots. They are so strong, they pass through the stone and they continue to grow on the root. Now these walls are very so sometimes I think like in the there are three old ficus trees, more than 100 years old. They cause the challenge to raise in there. And they put up orange trees, like orange trees in the land, that's how it is. In the corner there is an opening, you see where it's at. We are very sharp, it's possible to break away, all the way down there to the other side. You can see that the floor is left, so the drainage should simply flow to the south side. Another opening is there for the same reason. Now, last summer, last week, we gave a light music concert. Light music, just a few instruments, 40 people here. It was done up and lit up. The acoustics, the sound was perfect. People enjoyed it. And then they did it last week again. It was a success.
The root of the tree. Wonder how old this tree is.
So the openings I showed you on the other side come here, the drainage comes here and takes in this canal here, and it goes away somewhere else. This canal is for the drainage. Now look at the ceiling, you see the beautiful arches here. These arches play a very important role in all their buildings. Whatever they build, the lands, palaces, buildings, houses, they included these arches. In those days, the rooms were walls, not small and today, so they needed support. The ceiling needed support, so every room is full of arches, and they are so nice. There are many household houses which still exist today in villages mostly, which were built around 400 years ago. When you go in, they have all these beautiful arches. Otherwise, what is fighting this? Of course, fighting the Ottoman Empire. But the Arabian in those days were around Malta. There were many battles which were going on all throughout the years. The Knights were offered weapons by the European countries. They were the special force fighting the Ottoman Empire. Malta, the forefront of Europe, was very important. Then, of course, like I told you, it was built as a Baroque city. Many beautiful palaces, nice buildings, architecture was really beautiful. But unfortunately, also it was destroyed during the Second World War. But still there are many buildings which still exist nowadays. When I used to give tours in the palace where I was for many years, I used to tell the children, when you come to Valletta, don't just look at the shops, lift up your head sometimes and architecture, what the Knights left us. They left us such a beautiful history. Not Republic Street, where we came, it was all destroyed. From the museum we came from, which used to be an auberge of Provence, or the Knights, all the way down, it was all destroyed. Merchant Street is full of nice palaces and buildings and nice architecture. So the Knights came in 1530, where they settled in Malta and the three cities, Valletta wasn't even, there was nothing here. And they built 8 auberges because they came from 8 different countries in Europe. So every lane had its own building. They formed the government, like any other government of the day. And there were 8 auberges in the 3 cities in Victoria. So when they transferred to Valletta, when it was built, they built 7 then, because England then was out of the order. And British fought with the Pope and so on, and they left the order. So they were 7. And they built the 7 auberges here in Valletta.
It's different to use your term.